Well, we would like to use this moment to refer, we'll say, to some topics that are transcendental in this moment. And these types of topics are fundamental, I believe, to have a more ample perspective, to understand the context of the things in a better way and be clear in what we will say. In other words, we will be happening in the world. Our principal interest is that we can address some topics which we consider transcendental and fundamental, and that have to have a very interesting perspective, very peculiar and particular, at the moment of trying to understand what is happening in the world. We had already decided as a fundamental topic, as a principal topic, to address some news and give them a context, that if it is not done in this way, it will be difficult for us or almost impossible to comprehend in the actuality that we are living. And that actuality is, we'll say, very important, because if things are not understood, comprehended, if we do not capture in what we are into, we will have many problems. That is why we have considered in this section of why they did not told us anything as a section that will allow us to comprehend what is happening in the world. First of all, we have to be clear that we have entered a new era, an era that we have catalogued as the era of the hammer and the sickle, an era that will be very, very marked by much unstableness, much incongruence, and a lot of surprise and very dramatic decision making that will reverberate in the present and will reverberate in the future. Seeing in this way this era of the hammer and the sickle will allow us to comprehend events that will unlock other new events. We have to understand that one thing is what is going to happen in the United States with the arrival of Donald Trump, and another thing are the conditions that will take place in order so that other events and occurrences start to be produced, that will have a lot of influence, very marked, very defined, very clear, very adjust to events of the end. That is why the news have to be interpreted and must be interpreted in its context. We repeat once again, we have entered the era of the hammer and the sickle. When the moment comes, we will explain it, but we will try to grasp some mystical elements to be able to start interpreting this matter. The first thing that we have to define and that will be left defined by using a mystical rule and at the same time located in a determined context, the 4 years that will rule this period, is a famous phrase that some must know, and that phrase is found in prophecies, but not prophecies of the scriptures, but in other books, because they have to do with prophecy. What someone will say domestic prophecy is that famous phrase that the trumpet shakes with great discord. And that is what we will see in these first months, a trumpet that shakes in a discordant way. And why it has to be in this way? Because it has to be trenched, it has to be prepared, it has to be elaborated, it has to be pushed, it has to be produced. A series of unfortunate events that will lead us to the beginning of events of the end. It cannot be in another way, we cannot see it in another manner. When the end approaches, it will be plagued with a series of mistakes that a series of supposed world leaders will commit. We cannot come to understand or comprehend the events of the end if we do not understand and comprehend the events before the end. That is why the trumpet will shake discordant. That element is fundamental, and that element is necessary for those that understand and comprehend this type of prophecy. If the trumpet does not shake discordant, we are not doing absolutely anything. That is why what we are going to see in this period of time, that we are going to hear, analyze, interpret, and comprehend in this period, is the unstableness. The principle that will rule in this, between quotation marks, golden times, is the unstableness, and that unstableness will force other nations to show the face that they have not wanted to show the muscle that they have not wanted to show, to take decisions that they have not wanted to take, obliged by the circumstances, because there will be a trumpet that will shake discordant. So if we do not comprehend the era of the hammer and the sickle, we will not be able to comprehend why a series of elements, occurrences, circumstances, situations will happen that we are going to observe, and we will not be able to interpret them. It is necessary, we believe, for the clocks to be adjusted. That is why that discordance, because the clocks that have not been adjusted to the times must be adjusted. In other words, we will separate everything that Trump will do in his government with what we are really interested, that are the events before the end. And we will try to identify them, differentiate them, break them into pieces, because it is fundamental that we do it. Wherever you are living, it doesn't matter the country you are, it doesn't matter the style of life you live, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter what you see. The events will not stop. Why? Because the era of the hammer and the era of the sickle has begun, and the trumpet will shake with great discordance. That means that the readers, the hearers, the observers have to understand that the news that will begin to be produced, the news that will arrive to the newspapers, to the kiosks, to the magazine shops, to the news media, the radio, the press, the television, the cell phones, put the term that you like, that news, that information will only mean one thing, that a period of time has begun, and that there is a situation that is being given that cannot be interpreted. And why do we say this? Because Jesus the Messiah clearly had said that the blind should not lead the blind. Why do visionaries exist? Because visionaries can see forward into the future, and anticipate us, prepare us, warn us, or call our attention of what is going to happen or come to pass. So this time, this era of the hammer and the sickle will be full of anguish, noxious, difficult, and a complicated era, because the trumpet will shake discordant. We always invite you to write to us to the last church 7 in number, okay, gmail.com, and you are also invited to start preparing yourselves to the events before the end. Remember, we have begun the era of the hammer and the sickle, because the trumpet shakes with great discord. Thank you very much.